Recording.
Hello and welcome to this video of our recording of To Boldly Watch. May I start by saying, if you are watching this video, you're probably a Patreon patron and we appreciate you. Also, I'm going to put a link in the description to our Apple Podcasts page for this podcast. And if you go there and give us 5 stars and even extra give us a review, it will help the podcast become more discoverable. So appreciate you.
And then we'll be doing Star Trek Discovery. I'm making promises that I can't keep.
Yeah, we will all be on an episode if you go do that.
You're leaping like 8 years into this podcast.
Do lies matter anymore? I don't know. Speeding on my personal jaw.
Oh,
speeding as well.
Me too. What a coincidence.
1, 2, 3.
Nailed it.
I'll always have Paris.
Oh.
Yeah, please keep going. What's the rest
of hold on. I have an intro. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
No.
I know that you also have an intro, I'm sure, but... Pardon me. I had a spasmodic inhalation with closure of the glottis accompanied by a peculiar sound.
Actually, if you wanted the metaphor to be accurate, you would be talking about a fart. Multiple farts. Several farts in a row.
So if I'm to understand you correctly, Xander, you think a fart is a repeat in time? Like something that you ate is now coming out later?
Yeah, and then you revisit it again through smell.
I get it now. Time is a series of farts.
Mm-hmm. That's the Mannheim theory.
That's the podcast. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure to rate us and review us on iTunes. 5 stars. We'll be right back after this break. We're back. Have a great day.
Oh, boy.
Incorporating all the notes at once. I love it.
I don't actually know if that's the bodily function that Data was referring to.
Oh, yeah. That's why they cut him off, because fart jokes.
It has to be.
They cut him off because they don't have an answer to the rest of his sentence.
Good. Okay.
A repeat, right?
Yeah.
They
say that again. You're freezing, Jake Michels.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not your fault. Maybe you're caught in a time fart.
Oh, it says your internet connection is unstable.
Plug it into the wall, Jake.
If the conversion rate is 1 to 1.
1 to 1, Jake. 1 to 1.
I put so much antimatter in my router this morning.
Oh no!
Did you also put matter in it?
Wait, which one of you did it? Jake 1, Jake 2, or Jake 3?
We did. I did.
Second one. Go for the second one.
Always the middle.
That's right.
Which one of you is holding my hat?
That's right. It's We'll Always Have Paris, the time paradox / romantic episode of season 1. This was
my 2 favorite genres.
Yeah, this was a strange one. I both really liked it and really was confused by it.
I'm wondering, this is sort of the first delve into it for this series. Becca, are you into time shenanigans or are you sick of it yet?
I'm a freak for time shenanigans.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I love time shenanigans. The turbo lift scene was outstanding.
The acting.
Yeah, and I love that different versions of them continued the conversation. That was
right. But it's also so amazing to us that we can be like, look at this acting that they did. They did the exact same scene twice in a row, as if they weren't spending all day doing it over and over again.
Yeah, it's funny the hard part about doing a scene is not doing it the exact same intonation again.
Right.
Like breaking it up is what's more difficult.
Yeah.
Right. So in this episode, We'll Always Have Paris. Captain Picard encounters a woman from his past after her scientist husband's experiments begin to unravel the fabric of time.
Right, and we finally get French representation. We've got fencing, we've got cheese, we've got wine, a little cafe.
We've got a waiter who is inordinately polite to his customer.
Is not realistic.
A hallmark of all French culture.
My people are represented.
Oh yeah, you're French.
Yeah.
Jeanneret.
Yep.
During the beginning scene, which is Picard fencing with Lieutenant Dean, did you love the French in there, such as en garde? I was like, cliché.
Also, I tried my hardest to look. I bet that was Patrick Stewart and it wasn't a stunt.
Oh,
double.
it was him. I could tell. And
Oh,
no one looked good
anatomically?
in fencing. I mean, maybe not, because whoever it was did not look good in these fencing sweatpants.
The
And,
sparkle
like,
spandex.
Oh yeah. It did have a little shimmer to it.
Yeah.
Really ugly. There's a lot of beautiful, beautiful costume design in this episode, and fencing clothes. Yuck.
Yeah, and there's this weird like cod piece thing that happens that I'm sure
that's
was
my
supposed to
favorite
be
part.
a cup.
No, you have to have the codpiece in every fencing homage I've ever seen in all of media.
When you
That's
get
true.
to the bridge, we see that Picard's like that codpiece actually comes up behind his butt too, and actually goes to support. I think it's like the vest that he's wearing up front, like the guard.
Well, you see, you must protect the taint.
Right. It looks like the Goblin King is trying to fence.
Anybody who gets touched in the taint during fencing is retired from the sport entirely,
It's
right?
automatic
Yeah.
DQ forever.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
just
That's
wanna-
it. I'm done.
I don't know where you watch Star Trek, but I watch it on Amazon Prime lately,
Oh,
and I just have to shout
How
out.
and why?
How
they just got it
You don't
through
have
the
to-
CBS, I think.
Yeah, they've had it for a while.
I thought we were all doing Netflix, so I feel a little betrayed.
I used to, but my TV for some reason widens out the TNG episodes, so they're stretched because they were in kind of VHS/TV.
Yeah,
format.
it's not doing that on a computer.
I think it does it correctly on most Netflix things, but my TV has a built-in app that just doesn't like that. So.
Don't you love when your TV thinks it's really imperative that they know the best viewing options, and they're going to change the input, and they're going to give you that extra frame rate, because you know what? I want all media to look like a midday football game. Please, just give me extra frames.
Just blast me with LCD.
The reason I bring up Amazon is because they have a little feature called X-ray, and if you hover over it, it shows like the actor's profile that are in the scene. It shows little trivia and stuff. But actually, I'm going to show you both a screenshot here, which I'll put in the show notes as well, of the poor actor who plays Lieutenant Dean. His headshot is a snapshot from this episode that they used, and it's just an awful photo.
Oh God!
I mean, it wasn't a flattering scene either.
Not at all.
They were
His
sweaty.
He was
They were
sweatier.
spritzed.
Like he was dunked. Like
Right. And Patrick Stewart is like equally wet. He just doesn't have the hair.
No, he's got the sheen, is what he.
Yeah. He looks cool.
Well, that's what makes him a captain.
Well, during the fencing scene, we have a very disturbing time loop. We learn that the technique of a desperate man is repeated twice. And
it's a good line, though. It deserved to be repeated twice.
Yeah, for sure. And even when Dean said, "Captain, what was that?" I kind of expected Picard to go, "The technique of a desperate man."
Yeah. Did you not hear me?
This is when the music really kicked in this episode. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the music was really awesome in this episode. I will say.
I noticed.
Oh, is that why I got so emotional in so many places?
Maybe.
There was also like a lack of music at certain points. It was very quiet I think because the music was so stirring at other points. The quiet like ship moments, I was like, there's something missing.
There was a lot of synth use, as there always is in this first season, but a lot of like little pan flutes as well, and a lot of different.
Something very important about when we first go to France in the holodeck, I got to tell you about. So there's this guy standing behind the maitre d', and he's playing. He is playing a windpipe made out of the Austin Powers penis pumps that he gently strokes while wearing his pink silk shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very relaxing and beautiful. And I'd love to know more about this instrument made of strokable penises.
Traditionally, it was known as the French bong keyboard. And then they added the cock rings later. Just to give that sense of motion, it really helped the sound that was being projected forward.
Le coq ring de bong.
I didn't hear bong. I didn't hear the G, and I thought you were saying like a real French word. I believe that this was a real instrument for a second. I thought you were like the French bong.
No, it's like gerbil tubes taped to a cardboard slab.
That he gently strokes.
Yeah,
it's very sensual.
It is. And then this is what the beauty of the holodeck is that you can forgive any acting choice of like, they're computer programs. Someone was having a quirky day in the programming suite.
Yeah, I had to do, I don't know why, I really wanted to know the exact year. So that was Paris in 2342, if we're to understand that.
We're getting there.
Season 1 all takes place in 2364.
Yeah. We've got a way to go.
Anyway.
Also, the fashion of some of these NPCs are great. This confusing bra situation that happened. It's like, oh, her strap kind of fell down. No, that's on purpose.
I love it.
Yeah.
So to remind people, the reason he goes to the holodeck, we're going to find out later about a relationship when he just left. He Casablanca out of there. And it's recreated with the NPCs in the holodeck, and a woman and her friend look incredible in these 2300 outfits. It's a lot of exposed belly and exposed back, and really cute. I would wear these outfits today. So,
and it's springtime in Paris. Why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
We go there partially also because we learn that there's like a message from a Dr. Paul Mannheim who's having some trouble, and it's not really clear what that trouble is. I remember on the bridge, Riker says, who is he? Knowing that Picard clearly knows something about him, and Picard goes, Mr. Data, which is another example of like, we need to show that Data knows things. So let's go over to Data for exposition train.
Yeah, I put down that the Mr. Data was the Hey Google of the bridge.
It just reminds me of like of those tropes kind of that come from Galaxy Quest 2 of just like looking back at this show, just being like, hey, character who does this thing, do your thing.
Becca, have you seen Galaxy Quest?
Only like 100 times.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
So not enough?
Does it make more sense? I wonder what it'll seem like after having seen all of this.
I mean, I did grow up watching this show. I just was a kid. So I had those, tropes to call on.
Yeah.
It's just the reason this is fun is because I'm revisiting and digging deep.
Yeah.
The things that were just hazy memories. Now, I thought what was really interesting, as you're saying about Picard avoiding, is that I've been dealing with this a lot in therapy. Sometimes you get stuck in an age in some reaction that you're having. So this is his 20-year-old self being like suppressing those feelings of the fear that he felt then, and the emotion that he feels for this woman is all coming back. So him just saying, I can't engage.
It's funny because he's probably emotionally beyond this now, but being back in this environment has brought him back to that kind of mindset, right?
Yeah, something that Crusher addresses later when it almost is the first time it's explicitly called out that they have feelings for each other, because Deanna Troi goes to talk to Crusher later in the episode, and Crusher says, I can't do anything about how he's feeling about this ghost on the ship. And Deanna's like, but she's not a ghost. She's a human.
Yeah.
And Crusher says, no, but the ghost is what he sees when he looks at her, which is so interesting.
Yeah. And I think I love that scene too, or their acknowledgement or lack of acknowledgement about the feelings. Because it seems like something that maybe Deanna sort of picked up on and that Crusher and her have talked about in sessions. But it's
I'm getting a feeling of boning. Someone on this ship wants to bone someone else in this very room.
Horny? Is horny? Does that mean anything?
Poor Troy, like most of the crew is probably really horny, so most of her sessions are probably about boning, right?
Yeah. It's just like what is it? Marry, fuck, kill sessions.
Except it's just fuck.
Fuck.
She just got a board and you just put a magnet on it.
Marry, fuck, regret.
That's the whole session.
Right. No, I think that this ties into also the theme of time that's happening with the time shenanigans. How can this woman from Picard's specific past be showing up right now? But it's because her husband were doing time shenanigans. Maybe something affected her that called him here from the past, so he's feeling it on a larger scale, or some sort of supernatural reason. But I do love that this is a very human trait that we see with Picard, because so far we've got he's French and he doesn't like kids. That's it. And now we're like, oh, he did have relationships. He had feelings. He gave something up to be a captain. He's not just, besides the Stargazer or whatever. He needed a bit more humanization, and I thought that this was a good way to do it. There was a bit of like, she is just a vehicle for his story, but, whatever.
Oh, I got so many thoughts about Janice. I love her. We get some new stuff from Picard. Honestly, my favorite scene I've ever seen in the season so far are him in this episode. And one of them is when he's reminiscing with the NPC the first time on the holodeck, and he starts to apologize on behalf of this NPC waiting for someone else to come. And he's saying, well, maybe he was scared. Maybe he didn't want to say goodbye. Maybe he thought that you would pull him into this life that he didn't know if he wanted to be tethered down. He wants to be a starship captain. And then we find out that later that he was going to leave the next day, and this was their last meeting, their goodbye that they never got to have because he was too afraid. But then he cuts it off and he says, enough of this self-indulgence, and storms out. And that is so telling of what he does with his emotions, especially when he also talks to Deanna Troi earlier, and she's like, you had a feeling, and he's like, nope.
Yeah. And she calls him out. She's like, I know what you do. You suppress emotions. This is not good.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it? He's like, we can talk about it here. She's like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, he's like, give me therapy in one word, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't even necessarily deny it. He just said, get to the point. As if, her point wasn't obvious, which is like, hey, you should work through this a little bit. But she had to point it out to him. It's like, look, you need to take 2 hours and kind of address the situation. Before we leave the Cafe des Artistes, I have to say I went on a little bit of a rabbit hole down Memory Alpha, which we've mentioned what Memory Alpha is on the show before. It's the fan-made wiki for Star Trek, but there's some extensive notes on this stuff, and they actually got a hold of the menu for the Cafe des Artistes because it was in a book. It
was clear, right?
In the art department, yeah, that clear menu. But they actually wrote it out in a book, and there's actually some pretty great menu items in French.
Oh, really?
Can you read French, Xander?
No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
You just call him Jeanneret when you're asking him a question having to do with French.
I can say that in French. No.
The menu, la menu, includes.
Oh, that means menu.
Thank you. Includes croissants de lithium, which are dilithium croissants with cream cheese and fresh tomatoes. There's tribbles in a blanket, which are 3 small young tribbles sautéed with hot butter served in wrapped bread.
Oh my God! Don't eat tribbles!
There's Klingon targ with ice cream, a small targ with vanilla ice cream served with the dish of the day, and fish served with Binar fries and flakes.
Binar fries? Are they made by Binars or are they made of Binars?
There's probably of.
Same thing with Targ ice cream.
Chavarot avec sauce brune, which is horse served with brown sauce, a large piece of horse of 38 years old made with wonderful brown sauce on a small stone dish. I don't know what that's a reference to. There's also Jean Cougar Mellencamp, not John. It's a flank of cougar captured by 10 aquanauts with fresh coffee.
Why are cougars caught by aquanauts?
They spent a whole day in the writer's room coming up with this menu.
The caption for this on Memory Alpha, or actually from the book that it was published in, says, what does it say? It says, the menu from the small Parisian restaurant, clearly the strain of producing hundreds of graphics for each episode was beginning to take its toll on the art department. But I mean, this doesn't seem like a strain thing. This seems like they were having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were loving their job.
That was some unhappy nerd that was like, well, clearly they weren't taking it
seriously.
seriously.
They hate their miserable lives.
And eat a tribble. It's terrible. Get stuck in your esophagus.
That's true. It's supposed to be cute and purry.
You defer it.
There's nothing there.
Good point.
So yeah, there's just an interesting amount of detail on Memory Alpha, and I invite you all to go down the old...
That's fantastic.
I didn't go down that rabbit hole, but there is a rabbit hole that I went down.
I'm eager to hear about it, but when we get to it, right?
Yeah.
So continuing forward, Picard leaves. He goes back to the bridge where Riker mentions the time anomaly, I guess.
Don't erase my culture. It's deja vu. Thank you. We're getting French again, even though I can't read or write.
Do they say deja vu in this?
They sure do.
Okay,
Jordy does.
Yeah, which really is what they should be using in terms of this rather than hiccup, I suppose.
Yeah. Or time
fart.
fart's pretty good.
Or time fart, yeah. Wait, did we talk about that off of the audio? We haven't talked about that yet, did we?
That
time
was
farts?
the opening.
Yeah.
It was the opening, okay. I wasn't sure if we were recording audio yet.
We could have just been doing a bit.
For 20 minutes before there's anything rolling, so it's true, it blends.
Well, then my second digression is the word hiccup, because if you can believe it, Memory Alpha has a listing for Hiccup, and I don't know how I knew this. It's because I was looking on the Memory Alpha
because it's clickable
episode, right? And so if it's clickable, it has an entry, and there's actually several references to Hiccups in different episodes, and they for some reason put it in an article in Memory Alpha.
Well, because I mean, this is not the first time that we'll get into time shenanigans, and here we go. They don't make sense. So we're trying to codify and make things make sense when they're all full of plot holes, because time shenanigans is a plot hole by definition.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's so hard in all of media. Back to the Future being the worst offender.
Right.
How so?
You're not gonna. You're either existing or not existing. You're not partially translucent.
Well, it's Schrodinger's prom.
Schrodinger's prom is the best name ever.
We travel and find. Actually, there's like a relay of coordinates to get to where Paul Mannheim is hiding. Mannheim. Picard's very excited for the force field to drop, which we understand why. It's because when he gets to sickbay, it's because the lady's involved.
We had a feeling when he didn't say his name when hailing them. It's the captain of the Enterprise.
Right. Normally,
I didn't notice that.
Oh, really?
He goes, I am Captain. The captain of the Enterprise.
Yeah, and even Data or Geordi or someone, they give looks to each other. Oh, I think it was Riker and Data.
Yeah.
That's probably why I was like, I literally said, "Oh," when he got to the sick bay, because I didn't see that coming, and I was like, now it clicks a little bit.
Yeah, 2 people on the ship left, and they need to be rescued. May I say that this woman's disembodied voice is way better at knowing her ship when I don't think that was her department than that Onarian captain tweaker doped up on Felicium. Didn't even know what an engine coil was.
She's also following the 1970s rule of sci-fi of no bras, which is great. I think this outfit looks fantastic.
I thought that she had a bra, but they had done some weird magic because later in the scene you see a bra strap like right through her armpit.
Maybe it was
I think there's
later.
bra magic happening.
That's true. Either way, I'm a fan.
Same cut of outfit, except hers is baby blue marbled. It's kind of like the sky. Same cut as the woman who was on the holodeck, who was the friend of the NPC.
Right.
So this woman, I was so in love immediately. She's amazing. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go look up who this is.
Oh.
Yeah. And guess what? Janice is not just some actress. Janice is Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Okay, you're not amazed. I guess you knew this.
The Mamas and the Papas?
The Mamas and the Papas.
Like
there were
Mama
2
Cass.
Women. She's not Mama Cass. She's the other one.
Right. Well, obviously, because Mama Cass died.
Yeah, and was a larger woman.
Yeah.
Curvier.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Michelle Phillips.
She was good. She had great scenes.
Incredible. Their scenes together were electric. Ooh.
Now I'm California dreaming.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be a little bit of a differentiation here. I thought they were both incredible individually, but I didn't quite find the chemistry with them. Like, I think they both individually.
Are you blind?
I appreciated the restrained chemistry, especially of that time period. I feel like in the 80s and the 90s, there was this push of like masculinity and then femininity of like giant hair. Oh, I'm in trouble. And this was very much 2 adults coming in, like, come in, tell me the truth. No, wait, tell me a lie. Then tell me the, like, I love that. I love that back and forth.
Oh, can we talk about that exchange specifically? And let's just relive it. Let's see. Why didn't you come? I was afraid. No. You're supposed to lie to me.
Right.
It rained that day. I thought it was Wednesday. It was Tuesday. So
here's the thing is that we going back to Picard going on the holodeck trying to work through his emotions. Instead of talking to a counselor, he does, like, he's going to work it out himself. He's programmed this. Even though he says it from the computer, you can assume that he's done something like this before because there's this specific NPC that's just his situation. And he knows that it doesn't help because replaying your memories and trying to find out the outcome doesn't work. You have to talk to the other person. You have to have this communication, and you can go through the pleasantries of like, let's be nice and kind to each other for our like for our feelings. But at the end of the day, you need to work through it because you need to hear the other person say their reason, and you need to listen and hear it back.
Yeah, that scene in the observation lounge, is that
Yeah.
what that is called?
Mm-hmm.
That I agree, Becca. That was a scene to show their chemistry. Like that was the one I was like, oh, now I get that they have a rapport. But before that, it's just them talking about how much they liked each other previously. It's
That's
another
true.
symptom of season 1 where they're just explaining that they liked each other as opposed to showing what they like about each other. He says to her very explicitly, he's like, "You're wonderful," or some other similar word, and it's like, yeah. Why is she wonderful to you? Like, I get that she's attractive.
Because Michelle Phillips is a magical unicorn.
Well, she also, at that moment, she had said something like she sees through his exterior hard guy thing that he's had to have up for so long, being a captain.
Great. I hope she should demonstrate that in some way. She should
that's true.
Point out one of those things in front of the crew or something like that and be like, oh, this woman really does know Picard.
Yeah.
I love that, as you were saying, she's not a damsel in distress, but she'll play that card. And when she first sees him, she says, who else would have charged to my rescue?
Yeah.
Right.
And I thought that the chemistry from that moment onward was palpable. And it was a lot coming from her because Patrick Stewart, love him. Romance is not his thing.
Sure.
And, you know, he's strong and he's brave and he can do it with the right person. But she was coming hard and it was there for me. She had this twinkle in her eye. Ooh.
Plus, I mean, what's his nuts? Mannheim was not a catch.
No.
He's not the greatest. I mean, more of he just didn't pay attention to her and he was like a shitty person and then continued to be a shitty person.
Yeah. When he woke up, he said, my life, in a way that was so Borat-like.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it.
Picard introduced himself to him, he pauses. He's like, Picard. The same Picard? It's like, oh, they've had this conversation in their marriage several times. You know, he screamed out, why don't you just go marry Jean-Luc?
And then later on, when he wakes up again, Picard walks in and he goes, where's my wife? Instead of, that's the first thing that he says. He's like, you were probably with her.
Sir, she's just off camera. Calm down.
And she was.
Right
it's like, no one spoke to her.
I know.
It's like, you can't ask anyone. You have to talk to the captain. Where is she? She's right there.
Yeah, so she's the one that got away, and I like that element of the story. So Mannheim wakes up. He explains a little bit of what's happened, which is that he's running these experiments, but things went wrong, and now there's like a rip in space-time. He created a doorway, a window. He has several words for this analogy of an opening into space-time.
It's the anus that the time thoughts come through.
Oh, right, the crack.
Yeah.
Speaking of crack, let's slip away for a quick break. There you go. You got it.
Thank you, everybody on YouTube. I asked him to give us a break so we can put things here.
I still feel like we're going to find it naturally. Like, I'll find it in the edit. I'll do a cool music thing, and then we'll go.
No, I will not.
I won't.
I'll never find it.
I refuse.
All right. Well, when you're
also, I saw that in chat. I was like, I don't need a break. Oh, yeah.
Xander, do you need to go potty? Huh?
Are you telling me, like, calm it down, Xander? Take a quick break from talking.
Yeah. Ease
no,
up,
you're perfect. Get back to it.
One interesting thing was what Crusher, after he passes back out again, Crusher's examining him, and she says something about, like, I wish I could talk to you, Professor Mannheim.
And then touches.
Like,
I thought it was like a moment of swinger. Couples.
Oh.
You know, it's like, let's get that energy of like, ooh, well, maybe Crusher needs to maybe flirt with this guy.
Well,
that's not going to work in the story. So she'll just say a thing.
It felt like to me it was like an admiration thing of like, oh, we're trying to build up this character as more mysterious than he has been led up to be because we haven't really established him very much. We've just established the mystery a little. So I think it's trying to build him up. Well, I looked it up and I realized, oh, so this episode was filmed or was made during the writer's strike of '88. Oh. So for those of you that don't know, the writer's strike, or was it '88? Yes. Okay. So the Writers Guild strike in 1988, a bunch of TV writers stopped working. So the producers and directors had to kind of complete the script. The script was actually only written over 5 days, and it was finalized a week before the episode was filmed. The writer's strike caused further issues when it was discovered during filming that the scene where Data was to fix the time distortions hadn't been completed. Somehow they got to filming without having a scene done. The one that's kind of crucial to resolving the plot.
Oh my God.
What I'm thinking is like different parts of this were kind of patched together. That's why there's some inconsistencies in terms of like Mannheim wakes up and explains things, then he passes out again. Like,
yeah.
all these
honestly didn't bother me. I thought this episode was excellent.
It was pretty
and
solid.
He woke up and passed back out because he had to tell us he was existing in two realities at once. He had crossed over to the other side. I was not disappointed at all. Honestly, who needs these writers? I'm just kidding. They wrote the whole structure of the script.
Dear God.
I took the Beverly as like a scientific admiration of like this guy found out some time science that is a mystery all over. And so it's a more of, I wish I could pick your brain as a scientist rather than any romantic thing.
Yeah, that's the way I took it too.
That's how it starts though.
Well, speaking of which, Troy comes in shortly after with her. Man, this is the most Arnold Schwarzenegger her accent has been yet. I wanted to see how I was doing.
I wrote a lot of notes on her accent today because it's so the hardest part of an accent to me is recreating it. And the way that you jump back into it is you listen to real samples of people from that real place. She's doing an accent from nowhere that no one else has ever done. She only has herself as a reference.
Yep.
I can only imagine she took extensive notes herself, made a whole Bible for herself of how to say these things. Because how else do you even practice that? Marina Sirtis is incredible, is what I'm trying to say.
It's the truth.
So they have a scene that I was like, maybe this will pass the Bechdel test, but they're mostly talking about Picard's relationship.
I had that thought too. All of them that were close, they were talking about their men.
Yeah. So let's see. I have written in my notes, and I think you guys have seen this, is that Janice confronts Picard, Troy confronts Crusher, Mannheim confronts Picard, Data confronts lasers. Like, there's just so much confrontation that happens.
And Data dives from lasers yet again. Yeah. My favorite scenes are always just Data jumping out of lasers.
I forgot to mention like the really fun time loop that happens because Becca mentioned being a freak for time travel stuff, me too. And that turbo lift scene was fantastic. Like I said, them going back and forth and actually we switched perspectives to a different time frame than when we started.
Yes.
And then we still continue as if that time frame is our episode, which it is because it's all part of a continuum. It's like, what a brilliant way to show that.
Yeah. Well, also we introduce some transporter shenanigans of like we get to see a transporter malfunction in action for the first time. Before we didn't get to see that sort of flickering type of thing, and also raises questions of like which ones survived. Did any of them beam down? And now that we. But
why is this child the one transporting them? There was like a very young new chief of engineering.
Well, there are
number
transporter
600.
chiefs. And there's like the one chief of engineering, but the title chief can be given to someone who is unlisted, so they wouldn't have a rank like an ensign or lieutenant.
Okay, chief.
Yeah.
And Worf has his crossbody badge, which is yellow to represent that he is now in security, but also in command track. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was his
yellow
Klingon bandolier.
Yeah, that's always there.
It's always there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
it's not always there.
It's a personal effect.
It's part of his Klingon culture.
Okay.
But I love that you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe he made it yellow.
That could be.
Well, it's yellow in this season. I recall in future seasons it's more of a silver.
Silver.
Right?
Yeah, I think it depending on the lighting probably.
Yeah. Maybe we'll delve into it more when we find out more about Worf's history.
That's true.
Speaking of delving, though, I have a third digression because Data estimates that the next time distortion will occur in 28 minutes and 47 seconds. And for some reason, I popped up again onto Amazon's trivia thing, and it says 47 reference. I was like, 47 reference? What is a 47 reference? Well, I looked it up.
42.
Apparently, the number 47 occurs a lot in Star Trek. Did you guys know this?
Oh, is it
fun to
something
say.
Like the room number?
There's I'll put a link to it in the description as well as our chat right now. But 47 is an inside joke amongst TNG writers that they try to include it in a bunch of things, and it actually got passed on to other Star Trek series. So to explain it in a nutshell, one of the writers, let's see, what's his name? One of the writers Joe
Looks like
Minosky attended Pomona College in California, where there's a
That's
club
right.
called the 47 Society, and they have a claim that a mathematical proof that all numbers are equal to 47, and the number 47 occurs with greater frequency in nature than other numbers. 74 also makes frequent appearances as well.
Fun.
So they started including the number 47 to a bunch of things, and there's actually a whole Memory Alpha listing of every time it's mentioned.
I followed the link, and my 42 joke is represented here. It says, when asked about the significance, Rick Berman joked, 47 is 42, corrected for inflation, referring, of course, to the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything, according to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams.
Right.
So,
wow.
So keep your ears open for 47s when watching TNG.
Okay, but also there's, since we're in time shenanigans, there's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, the number 47 occurs very often, and then you put the number 47 in media, it's going to occur more often.
I think the club's a joke. I don't know how honest it is, but I love that they are making it reality.
Right. I mean, you can, I would imagine, especially sitting down to write a script, you need like random numbers, like a 555 for an American phone number. There are these like tropes that would have to show up.
It's funny how like when I'm writing and I have to produce a number for something, it's always like, oh, that number feels too cliche.
Right.
Or like when you're trying to
odd
think,
or even.
When you're trying to think of a phrase such as a stitch in time saves 9, you're wondering why 9? Why a stitch? What does this even mean? And I went on a tangent and I looked up.
I was hoping you would.
Phrase. Okay, from phrases.org.uk, in time is simply the prompt sewing of a small hole or a tear in a piece of material so that it's saving the need for more stitching at a later date when the hole has become larger. It's referring to actual stitches in sewing. So if you sew up the hole in your pants now, it will keep it from getting bigger.
But does it save so 9 minutes?
Yeah, what's the 9?
No, 9 stitches.
Literal 9 stitches.
Yes. So why 9 is still unclear, but it does rhyme, so I guess it is clear.
So is the idea you would add a stitch a day to avoid 9 stitches
in the standard 9-week?
You do one now to save doing 9 in that same spot with a bigger hole later because you didn't deal with the hole when it was small.
Oh, hey, look, that's what Picard's dealing with.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Oh my God, yes, he's stitching up so many emotional stitches. But I'm referring
to 8.
8 of them. And I'm referring to the scene where Picard decides just Data is going to go handle this whole time butt crack.
Now it sounds like a production decision of like, crap, we don't have this scene written. We'll just have one actor go in there and jump around a bit.
Who's really good at jumping? Data, obviously.
Yeah, I was like, they can only film so many actors multiple times because they had multiple iterations. It's like, let's just make it.
And with stunts.
I love it. Well, yeah. And what did he say? When Picard tells him that he's going to send just Data, Data goes, I understand, because after all, I'm a machine and am dispensable.
Right.
He's like, no, I didn't mean that. Maybe a little, but
I love
also
that correction by Picard. He's like, no. It's
indispensable.
Indispensable. Yeah. You just know your shit, so I need you down there.
Well, and his point was valid. You're the only one that doesn't freak out and understands what's happening immediately instead of being like, oh my God, there's 2 of me.
Everyone would have freaked out. And no one would have done that correctly except for Data.
Kept his cool in a way nobody else could. And I loved when he explains that he sees time as a constant and humans see it as flexible. And this is the first time we get a super, super cliche phrase, which is time flies when you're having fun, that prompts the stitches thing.
Yep. And
so
it sure does.
It's interesting that androids, of course, they process every second in the same way.
Yeah. We've, I think, examined this aspect of Data in the past too. Whenever there has been sort of time shenanigans, or I think it was with Wesley and the helper, whatever it was. They like elongate the time and relativity and stuff. And Data is like, I have an internal clock, and so my clock does not match the ship's clock.
Right.
This is how I experience time, type of thing. So we can find the inconsistencies. So I like that they included that and used it as an advantage. It was a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, where's the show Bible for all this information that they're
Right.
definitely keeping track of somewhere?
Yeah.
You can't. It's time shenanigans.
Time shenanigans.
So Data goes down to the planet. He dodges some lasers and takes out the security system. Manages to get
way
they
better
forgot
than the
to
fencing
mention.
moves.
Just some deadly lasers that they're like, oh, we forgot to mention that part of the security system.
It's not that he forgot to mention some codes, as he mentioned. He forgot to mention lethal weapons.
Yeah. But it was protected by some, what are those, fluorescent light bulbs that opened part of the way.
Yeah.
You know, he could have really like broken up his hands if he like tried to rush through that. So I'm glad.
I justified that so fast in my mind. I'm like, well, they're probably some sort of field emitter, and that's just what they look like. In my mind, I associated fluorescent bulbs because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a very cool effect to have them open in opposite ways, and I love the fact that they didn't let him open them all the way.
Yeah. So he had to maneuver through them.
The dungeon master of me was like, ooh, so that's going to take a full action to get through. So
yeah.
Hurry. He can't just use his movement speed.
But also as like an escape room enthusiast, cool idea. Gonna get broken right away.
Oh yeah, people are gonna unscrew those bulbs in a heartbeat.
Well, so they managed on the day of filming, I guess, to figure out how to end that scene because Data just throws some antimatter at the right time and sees 3 of himself, but picks out which of him is the correct one. We don't really know how.
Me.
He just does. And
the likelihood is the middle. Yeah, there was a lot of extreme close-ups. We really get to see the makeup in the pores.
Yeah, but they did a great job, I thought, with the green screen in terms of making them all appear. Like, it was still really convincing. The triple lift scene was the same way. I thought the split was, like, legit looking.
I think we are also seeing an enhanced version, which we've talked about before. I don't know for sure, but this, especially some of the effects in the lab, I was like, this looks a little too clean.
Did either of you notice the 2 seconds of updated footage?
No.
It was really hard to grasp, but I caught it. It was like there's literally 2 seconds that was missing when they remastered this. It's a shot of Riker during the hiccup scene. If you go back and look at it, you'll see it's much grainier and it kind of looks like film.
I did see that, and I thought that maybe it was just the shot and they couldn't do anything about remastering. They
couldn't find the footage to remaster it.
Oh,
2 seconds is all they lacked.
I did notice that. I just thought they used a different camera or something, and it didn't. It came out differently.
Yeah.
There's also, speaking of angles, this was, I think, the first time that we saw this shot of the ceiling of the bridge, because we get this like up the nose shot of Picard, but I think it was to show that sort of space ceiling that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, it's like it's got skylight, or I mean a space light. What do you call that?
Yeah, a moon roof, a planet roof.
Nebula roof.
I totally missed that. I gotta go back and look for it.
It's one of the last shots.
So pretty much Data fixes it is what I resolved. Mannheim and his Paul and Janice end up staying together. You know,
I have a lot of thoughts because I'm a really big fan of the movie Casablanca.
Okay.
So talk about the analogy, the allegory, the metaphor of Casablanca.
Yeah.
Analogy. Okay, so at the end, there's this scene where Picard and Janice meet and they finally get resolution, they finally get closure, and she says, we'll always have Paris. Now, in the movie Casablanca, what happens at the end is what's our boy, Rick? He says...
Oh, Richard!
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah.
Oh, Richard, look at that plane! I've got to go!
So
are you playing a clip from Casablanca? Because that sounds exactly right.
So no, if anybody's never seen it, they get 2 tickets out of Casablanca, which is a city in Morocco that's kind of like a stopover where Rick has this cafe. And it's interesting because we're all examining media right now to see how it uses representation. And that city in Morocco, I'm just going to assume, having not rewatched it in a couple years, that there's probably some brown face happening in that movie that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But the best character in the whole movie is Sam, played by...
Play it again, Sam.
Yeah, play it again. You must remember this. That was their song, and that Sam, of course, knows because he's worked with Rick for years, and I like their relationship, and I fucking love Sam. But it was really nice to get this callback, this beautiful love story that's about really she made the decision in this one, but in that movie, Ingrid Bergman wants to leave her husband, who's this activist, anti-war, anti-Nazi guy, and Victor Laszlo. He's a good man, but she loves Rick because she can't leave that place in Paris. And one of my favorite things that they say is in that movie is, "We'll always have Paris. We didn't have it, and we got it back last night." So they got Paris back.
There's one bonus
movie.
reference to Casablanca at the very end of the episode too. Did you catch it, Becca?
The Blue Parrot Cafe?
The Blue Parrot Cafe? You did. Nice.
At the very end? Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised now that I know that the writer's strike thing happened if this production team didn't go like, oh, let's take Casablanca with time shenanigans in space.
It was, let me actually give credit to the writers because it was still largely written by two writers. Sure. Let me take... I believe there was, let's see, the story was originally pitched by Hannah Louise Shear and Deborah Dean Davis, two women, who were given the job of developing the script. The writing for the episode the writing of the episode suffered with the timing of the 1988 Writers Guild of America strike, and Shear and Davis completed the script in just 5 days to make that happen. The premise of the story was a combination of their idea about, quote, about a professor whose work wasn't appreciated and had to go off on his own, and that, end quote, and that of Maurice Hurley, who wanted a story with a time anomaly. So yes, you're kind of right. They did mix them together. The final.
That's all writing is.
I love it.
Two existing things and smashing them together.
It's a mashup, baby.
Yeah. So they, Robert Legato, who I think was one of the producers and, or visual effects supervisor. Okay. And Rick Berman, they spent 40 minutes on the telephone with Shear during the strike, and she refused to write lines for them, but she did, they suggested dialogue and she gave opinions, and they wrote hand notes to make it work.
What a way to get around that.
Yeah, well, I mean, she wants to stick with the union and still stay on the strike, but she's
she wanted her vision
I want to support.
Yeah.
I understand the compromise she made.
Yeah, totally.
And like I said, I mean, I did like this episode overall. I loved time stuff, and I thought the romance was there. I felt like it still was just kind of they glued so much of it together to make work.
Yeah, because we had mentioned before that they're trying to figure out this A plot, B plot thing, and I think they tried to do it again in a way that tried to combine the two. It worked. I liked the episode a lot, and I was never bored. That's one thing about this life. It was never dull.
Stop it. I fucking love this episode. I don't know why. I found myself just crying, not noticing, oh, Becca, don't cry. It was literally just, oh shit, there's tears on my face.
Yeah, that happens
I was
to me all the time.
Wrapped up in some of the acting in this episode, and really, really, I mean it. Michelle Phillips is an amazing actress, and I was just in love with it because I guess I'm a sucker for romance, but when it's done well. Also, there was another shot of Picard physically framed in a love triangle, framed in between a couple, and once
he's just peace.
Like that other time in the holodeck.
Yeah.
Jazz club.
Becca, when we first started this endeavor of watching through Star Trek, did you expect to cry as much as you have?
Yes, because as I've been recently told by a therapist, crying is my superpower.
Wow.
Oh, so you're a crying girl. I was wondering who that was.
Moaning Myrtle.
Makes bank robbers all just feel sympathy for her, and they throw down their weapons.
We can't hit her. She's crying.
You know what? I'm working on it. I'm working on
it. By myself.
Oh,
no, that's great.
Jaw just popped. I am a very emotionally available person.
Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I do feel the weird need to sort of hold it in or keep it together, because I know that if I lose it, I won't be getting it back for a bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Also, this is totally unrelated, and I know we're wrapping up the episode, but I just listened to the audiobook of White Fragility, and there is a whole chapter on white woman tears, and there is a phrase, when a white woman cries, a black man dies, and that's a really heavy thing to say at the end of our episode, but it is an extremely good book, and I'm just going to throw out that book recommendation, and so that's another reason I'm trying to be more cautious of like when my tears are not necessary.
Yeah, I think there are good points there too. I'm not sure if it's from that book specifically, but something about, if I do feel the need to cry, I'll remove myself from like black spaces where
Yes.
feeling those things are great, but just remove yourself from expressing those emotions in front of other people if you
Absolutely. Yeah. It's because then it becomes making it about you.
Right.
When it's so clearly not in a lot of those situations. Yeah.
For those of you that are emotionally available, I'm interested to see your reaction to this next episode, which I'm not sure will make you cry so much as maybe creep you out, because the next episode is Conspiracy. After Captain Picard receives a dark warning from an old friend, the Enterprise returns to Earth to stop an alien invasion from taking over Starfleet Command.
Oh my God. Do I know what this is? Is this the villain I've been waiting for?
I don't know.
A mass entity that is commands the mind of many beings?
We'll have
I suppose you'll have to find out.
Yes, next week.
Engage!
Just how we end episodes.
Yeah.
All right. Well done.
Oh, wait. We're still recording. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.